So good Shabbos again, everyone. So could you imagine one day if you heard a voice that told you, give up your job, give up the beautiful home that you've worked so hard to have, leave Houston, leave Texas, and go to Oklahoma. You'd be like, what? And you were convinced it was God, and God was talking to you and said, you may like your home, you may have grown up here in Houston, but it's time to leave to a land that I will show you. You probably think, God, I love you, but I'm not leaving Houston. But Abraham, known as Avram at the time, when God speaks to him and God says to him, leave your home, leave where your ancestors came from, leave everything you've ever known, trust me, and go to a land that I will show you. And if you go to this land, I'll make a great nation out of you. I'll make your name great. And you shall be a blessing. Aram doesn't tell that voice, doesn't tell God, God, I love you, but I just can't do it. I can't leave everything I've ever known. And he does what God says. And he leaves to a land that God will show him. Because you shall be a blessing. Now the rabbis ask again and again, what does that mean, you shall be a blessing? Some rabbis say that what it means, it's a command. That not only Abraham and Sarah, but all those who've gone after them, all of us as Jews, it's a command that we have to be a blessing. We have to live a good life, live by good values, good morals and ethics, set an example for other people. It's a command to be a blessing. But some of the rabbis say, no, it's not a command. It's a promise that your descendants, shall be a blessing. And I like to think that we as a Jewish people, since that time of Abraham and Sarah, have been a blessing to the world. Think of all the values, all the ideas, all the traditions and customs, from the Ten Commandments to the Bible, to all the medical ethics and morals, the business ethics. The Western judicial system is based on our system of law. I like to think we've been a blessing. From Moses to Maimonides, from Einstein to Spielberg, from Koufax to Bregman. Well, maybe not Bregman, not this year in this year's playoffs. But you know what I mean. B'yeh bracha. I like to think as a people, we've been a blessing. But there's one more part of being a blessing that I want to share with you. When my children were young, some of the best advice I ever got was from an older member in our congregation. And he said to me, he said, Brian, the best thing you could tell your kids now when they're young, and really all the way up until they're adults, is to remind them that they are a blessing. To remind them, Brian, that there's a reason God put them in this world. That only them, that there's something special and unique about them, that God needed their specific talents, their specific traits, their specific character, and only they, in their own unique and beautiful way, can be a blessing to this world. I've tried to remind my children of that year after year since that time. I'd like to remind myself of that as well. That in the Jewish tradition, we're reminded again and again that each and every one of us is a blessing. And the challenge of life is figuring out what that blessing is. And whether we're young or old, a man or a woman, no matter who we are, let us find what our blessing is. And let us live out that blessing like Abraham and Sarah did. And so many Jews have done over the centuries. B'yeh bracha. And you shall be a blessing.